Hello, everybody. Matt Aguilar here, hosting another edition of Old Scribes. With me today, I got someone who I've been wanting to get on for a little bit. His name is Greg Johnson. He is officially the Chief Marketing Officer for BoxRec.com. But I think we all know that he's much more than that. I think BoxRec is just one of those entities that is so everybody uses, and everybody knows that there's a lot of work that goes into it. And anyway, first off, Gray, welcome to the show, and thanks for being on.
Hey, happy to be here, and thanks so much for having me on, Matt. I appreciate the you reaching out.
So I'm convinced that most of the people on social media apps like X get their boxing knowledge from BoxRec, right? I mean, I really believe it's that, it's so good that sometimes it's bad. Listing, I always say, and this is nothing against BoxRec, but I always say a resume is more than a line of names and type. There's nuance and there's context and background, but people don't believe me. Some people just think it's just this or that. But I just want, talk about just, first off, just the influence that BoxRec has had and continues to have. Back in the day, it was like, like the Ring record book, or, that's how information was gathered. But now it's BoxRec.com. Just talk a little bit about the influence and how you've noticed it grow over the years.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. So I've seen it. It's maybe hard for you to believe, but I've been involved with BoxRec for 25 years. Like, stop the year. That was when I first started watching box. I was doing it as a volunteer editor, putting in data, and that's when I started with watching boxing in maybe into 99, 2000, and BoxRec came along. I believe in the summer of 2000. It started as a fan project. So the owner is named John Shepard, and he's based out of the UK. And he and Marina Shepard run BoxRec together. I would say Marina is the public face of the company, the CEO, and John prefers to kind of work in the background, does a lot of the coding. But they'll go to conventions together, obviously, stuff to do presentations. But yeah, John started working with Nassim Hamed's team back in the day, and they were looking for a way to basically track fighter records, and they wanted to do it away. So that's kind of how John was a computer guy back then, a programmer, just kind of built BoxRec from scratch with that in mind. Really, the idea of being this giant record keeping system, I don't think that was, that didn't start out that way, I don't think, but it, he took the project live, and people like me who are stat heads found the website, and I mean, it's one of those, it's kind of miraculous. It's really grown word of mouth over time, and it started in a very, internet in 2000 was very different from 2025. BoxRec design has gone through many different, iterations. It started as just, fans putting in data, and going through record books and watching TV and putting in information. And, years later, we end up becoming the official record keeper of the Association of Boxing Commission in the United States, as well as many, many other commissions around the world rely on us for accuracy and information. And commissioners use our system to talk to each other as well. So there's suspension data gets shared that way, which is great, and I think it's super awesome for fighter safety. So it started very, very differently, and I've gotten the privilege to see it grow from something I never could have even imagined. As a 2000, I didn't understand what record keeping really was, and how the Ali Act and all that. I had no idea. And then as I got older, I kind of understood how things worked and how BoxRec was going to play into it. And I think we've become an integral part of how the sport works.
So BoxRec started in about 2000.
Yeah.
Is that correct? And so how quickly were you on board?
I mean, it was back then. They were just looking for volunteers, and he didn't know how old I was. And I didn't tell him. So I said, hey, I'd love to just help out as an editor and a researcher. I was just some kid in high school living in my parents' basement, pretty much. So that's how I got into boxing. Is like, I used to watch baseball. I was really into baseball, and I was into stats. And I'd always read the back of the baseball cards, and I might memorize batting averages. That's a little weird behavior, but I was really into stats. So when I started watching boxing, I wanted to learn all about the history and who these fighters were, because my parents had just gotten HBO, and all of a sudden I was watching, Boxing After Dark and HBO Championship Boxing every weekend, and then I was watching Friday Night Fights on every Friday. So yeah, that back then it was just like, hey, do you need someone to watch TV during the weekends and get those results up pretty quickly? So I kind of became that guy. And at the same time, I was starting to, do some research in local newspapers and find old results and stuff like that. So yeah, it was back then it was way different, and they were just looking for volunteers. Now it's a little bit more like we kind of vet people, but that's kind of, I think I was just a little, I was lucky how things were different back then.
So, one thing that has always amazed me, and this is, even, back in when I was working at the El Paso Times, me and the other guy that wrote boxing at the time, his name is Bill Knight, we would be amazed because, we'd watch a fight or we'd cover a fight or whatever, and we'd look at BoxRec, almost immediately the result would be up. Like it was, and we just were just amazed by that. And of course that comes, go ahead.
That was me more often than not. Just watching it home. Yeah.
So I'm picturing, there's different people getting different shifts or different, but I'm sure that's not how it is. I'm sure a lot of it is just you doing it after watching a fight, correct?
Yeah, so back then, yeah, definitely. That's how it kind of worked back in the day, right? I mean, especially nowadays, now that we work closer with the U.S. commissions, we wait, for some bigger shows, we'll put stuff in right away. I think we always have to keep in mind that BoxRec, at the end of the day, it's a business, and we depend on web traffic, and having information available to fans immediately, especially for the big fights, we should be doing that. But at the same time, for smaller shows and stuff like that, and for other countries, we do rely on them to send us reports. They have information that they need to send us. They fulfill the requirements. We put it on BoxRec as verified.
Got it. And so give me an idea of how many people, like now, are different people assigned different fight cards? Because there's fight cards going on all over the world throughout the week. Explain the process and how you gather this information, and roughly how many people are in charge of gathering that information.
A lot of editors, people who have been doing it for a long time that we trust and rely on to get us to verify information. They have their regions, so people that know the areas pretty well. We'll let them enter in the verify results in their area. So it's lots of people. It's lots of editors that help us out. So I can't really put a specific number on it, but it's quite a few, for sure. And we have a lot of other editors who, again, these are people taking time out of their day and volunteering their time to go look up past results and go through newspapers and put in things from the 1920s, the 1930s. I know it's kind of crazy that we've been around for this long, but I still see results from those eras still going up on BoxRec, especially that we've been doing a lot more amateur boxing results in the last few years. We didn't do that in the beginning. So now there's tons of information in there that still needs to be entered in. And we have people, again, just taking time out of their day to go to the local newspaper and find results from way back in the day in newspapers and post it. It's crazy.
So is it like this? Like I used to be, high school sports editor. And so I would assign all these different stringers to go cover a game. Right. And they'd come back, and this is back before they had to come to the actual newsroom to actually type the story. Is it like that? Do you assign people and different, or how does that work?
It's just more like, I would say it's pretty we just have people we've known for a while in certain areas, and we know that they'll put it in. We could rely, so I wouldn't say we're like, you have to put this in at this time, but we know that there are people that are often working at the shows or on site at the shows, and more often than not, they're going to be able to put it in as they're watching it. So it's not like we expect you to do this like a certain time. It's just people do it, which is nice. But we, like I said, for bigger shows, we'll put the results in immediately sometimes, but for smaller shows in certain countries, we do wait for reports.
Yeah. And so tell me about your beginning as a fight fan. You
Yeah.
said you were big on baseball, and then you got into boxing. And was it just because of the HBO and because it was kind of a little more accessible back then?
100%. There's actually a specific show that hooked me, and it was Roy
I'm
Jones, David Telesco. And I remember watching
going
that
to show you
card.
my nerd. January 15th, 2000, right?
Hell yeah. Yeah, yes, sir. I was like, you nailed that date. That had David Izon and Derek Jefferson as the co-main.
Yeah.
And that
Which was a
fight
great fight.
was unbelievable. And I had probably hadn't been watching a lot of boxing before then. I think I watched like maybe Trinidad Whitaker like right before then. But I still didn't really understand boxing at that point. But I watched that Jefferson Izon fight and I was blown away. And I thought, man, boxing is incredible. I wonder if every fight is like this. It's not, but there's still more often than not really, really great fights. And I remember I was starting to just get a little bit bored with baseball, and I just kind of started shifting into boxing. And I realized, for where I lived and grew up, there wasn't a lot of kids that cared about boxing. Like I tried to go into my school and talk about David Tua and Lennox Lewis and crickets, but I enjoyed it. I kind of viewed it as my own little hobby, my own little world. And like I started on the message boards. That's how I learned. I would go on Usenet groups. Those were dying off back in 2000, 2001. Those are kind of they were kind of going off the wayside. But teenager me would definitely look through old Usenet threads and message boards to learn about the sport. So very different way. I think people take in content now for sure. So I still have that old internet mindset. I feel like when it comes to how I process boxing, like I'm not 40 yet, but I'm still the guy that's like, God, you old YouTube, like, and all this video content. Like, this is not how I grew up, man. This is not it. So I still kind of have that old mindset a little bit, but yeah.
Do you? I mean, you've been doing it for so long. I mean, you were doing this near the beginning, and
yes.
So do you still like the digging through, and how much of it do you do in terms of like digging and trying to find out what someone's accurate record is, or what fight may have happened, or whatever? How much of that kind of archival stuff do you do?
Not as much as I used to. When I used to, absolutely. Like when I first started as again, like a lot of records were incomplete back then. So finding that like digging through old like Fight Facts books and like the boxing record keeping in the early 2000s was weird, man. There were like all these little websites that had, I wish I could remember all the names, but I know like Seconds Out used to have record pages. There was like a British website that would have stuff. Yeah, like there was like a French website that would have things, and I would always be poking around. Like this guy Danny Vanderveel, who's with the WBC, his name is Mr. Boxing. He would post results from Europe. So I'd always be like, if this guy, I can't find this guy. He's but they announced him as 8-10, like or 10-8 or something. Where are those fights? Like I used to love like trying to figure out if maybe fought under another name or something like that. So I used to be a big. Like I love to dig around and do that kind of stuff. Now I again, I'm doing other stuff for BoxRec. So I'd say my mindset is shifted away from the day-to-day record keeping and more into other aspects of the website. So it is kind of like I do follow the sport, like I watch all the big fights, etc. But I'm not the guy that's deep in the weeds as I used to be. Like I'm not. So when someone shows me like a record of a fairly obscure fighter, I feel like the younger me would be like, oh, I've heard of this guy, and da. But nowadays I'll be like, man, this guy is 75 fights, and I have honestly never landed on this BoxRec page. And it's like some UK journeyman. Like I used to know like all the UK journeymen, like Peter Buckley, like like all these guys that would have like 300 fights. Be like, oh yeah, man, like I see them every weekend. But nowadays, I'm landing on these pages, and I'm like, oh my god, this guy is 100 fights. How have I never noticed him? So yeah, it's a little stranger when you're older and you're doing It's I love it, but it's also work. So I have to have the work brain.
Yeah, it's also, I mean, I find that too, is that, I mean, my brain, when it came to boxing history, boxing dates, when and where and things took
Oh
place.
yeah.
I could just reel it off. There's an era between like, I don't know, 1980 and like 2000, right? Like
Yeah.
20
Oh yeah.
years there where
Yeah.
you can name me a fight, not a tiny, not sometimes an obscure fight, but
Right.
a major fight, a fight between top 10 contenders. I could tell you the date, I could tell you the location, I could tell you, the
Yeah.
circumstances behind it, this and that. Anymore,
100%.
from about 2010 on, nothing.
I know. I know. I would be like Roy Jones, Clinton Woods, Portland, Oregon. 2000, 2002, 2003. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like that too. Like, those are my era, man. Like 2000, 2010. It was like I was a hardcore fan every weekend, Friday night fights on TV. Like, if you threw me a couple fights and were like, all right, name the 3 out of these 5 fights that were on Friday night fights, 2 of them weren't on there. I could bet you I could name all 3.
Yep.
And pull out the 2 fakes. Like, I honestly watched as much as I could back then. So yeah, I agree with you. Like, at some point, I don't know if it's age or what, or life gets ahead of you, but it's it's harder for me now to like put things on a timeline and put things in context. So it's kind of, not like I used to be able to.
Right. It's funny that you brought up the Roy Jones Jr. Clinton Woods fight, because there's a friend of mine. He was working in Portland at the time.
Okay.
He works for the AP now here in Chicago, and he called me up and he said, "Hey, I'm covering this Jones fight. Give me some questions to ask." And I said, "Ask him why he's not fighting Darius Michaelshevsky." So
I mean, that was the common question back then. Absolutely.
Right. So, but I didn't tell him what he was walking into, right? And
You see the fire in Roy's eyes.
he asked the question, I guess, at the post fight, and I guess Roy went on like a 15-minute tirade.
I'm not going to Germany. He has to come here. Like, I can already know what he's gonna say. It's
still a joke between us, because he's always talking about the Darius Michaelshevsky Roy Jones fight and why Jones didn't fight him, and it's funny, but it's interesting that you brought that up, because that is, like you say, that's one date that I do know because of that. But that's getting toward the end. About 2010, those dates don't exist anymore. So you were talking about the process a little bit, and what exactly is your job now? I know it changed from kind of archival at the beginning, and now it's more what?
It's a lot of stuff. I mean, we're a small team. We're a small business, small team. I'm the American on the team. Everyone else is based in the UK. So I do a lot of different things. I work with the commissions when they're submitting their results and their paperwork. For example, I'll make sure everything's tidy, correct, and I'll QA stuff. And if I find something wrong or question, I'm the guy that will email them and get that sorted out. Or if they have any questions or need training on the system, I'm the guy that does the training. Social media, anything on the BoxRec IG, Facebook accounts, that's me. I'm trying to think of like any pretty much we do a lot of different marketing, reaching out to partners and stuff like that. I help out. A lot of internal training as well for our teams. All sorts of different things. Like we onboard a lot of editors, so I help out with that. So I'm kind of bouncing all over the place. It seems like I help out presentations. We go to a lot of conventions and stuff like that. So I do a whole slew of stuff.
Speaking of, like, well, not presentations, but presentation. A few years ago, I do my my little day in boxing posts. This day in boxing history, whatever. And of course, BoxRec is very helpful in that because the memory is going. And I noticed a few years ago, you guys changed your format a little bit, right? And it was like, it threw me off. So it really, and I'm sure I wasn't the only one. I know a lot of people were frustrated, and I'm sure that you guys heard about all of it. But just talk about why you changed format at that time, and whether or not another format change could be in the future.
Yeah, we'll get right to it. Another format change will come at some point, definitely sooner than later.
Really?
The site's starting to look a little, older, so I think it's good to freshen things up. So we're, I think that will come in time for sure. But yeah, I think obviously, looking at the current UI UX and saying, all right, what can we do better is definitely a discussion that we're having and we want to work on. So that's there. I don't know when it will come. I can't make any promises, but it's something we certainly think about. I just think at the time that, the site just needed the code and all the backend stuff really needed to be refreshed. And that's what we're working on again this time. It's just things, it isn't like a giant company. It's just a couple, few people coding it, and we're working on getting things cleaned up a bit. So, I'm very hopeful. We're all hopeful that when the next iteration of BoxRec, when it comes out, it's going to be a much better experience on the desktop. And obviously we want mobile to be clean too. I know people always ask about an app. We're always talking about doing one, and I know that's gonna come. I hope someday. It's definitely something we want to do. We know we want to really focus on a good experience for the fans, for sure. So we're working on ways to make that better for the fans. We've done a lot of stuff to make people inside of boxing happy, but we really want to focus on a good experience for the fans, and that means improving the website.
That's rare, right? That's rare in any aspect of boxing for anybody, whether it be the promoters or whatever, the sanctioning bodies or the commissions, or to do something for the fans is just something that doesn't typically happen. Um, Talk
Yeah.
about how much of that philosophy can you talk about, and why the fans matter like that?
They matter. We talked a little off air, but BoxRec is an independently owned company, and it's one of the last. I feel, as we see other entities with well-known brand recognition getting bought up, or going under, or whatever, going out of business, there's not a lot of the small guys left. And I think at BoxRec we really want to be the protectors of history. We want to give people the facts, and we want to be looked at as a reliable source, a trusted source of information, and we're proud of that. And I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. So if we're going to do that, and we're going to be going on our own, we need to make sure we compete with other people in the industry. We're not naive. There's always going to be people who want to probably cut into our business somehow. So we need to keep up with that. We need to deliver a good product and a good experience. So that means sitting down and brainstorming how we're going to do that. Like, we've definitely talked about how to improve the website. We don't sit around and go, oh yeah, we're all set. We're the best. There's no arrogance or anything like that. I think we know there's always room for improvement. So we do want to get feedback from our fans and our users, and we've certainly got plenty of it on social media. I think our positivity numbers are good, but obviously there are people who come to us with suggestions and criticism, and that's fine. That's okay. I don't take that personally. If people have criticisms of the website, that's fine. That's okay to have that. And what I think a good business does is go, okay, what can we do to improve? So I think that's really what we're going to be working on throughout this year.
Yeah, you touched on that a little bit about being a private company, something that, like you said, you alluded to, other big names being bought out by other big names.
Yeah.
I know you can't predict the future. I know, and anything can happen, but BoxRec is such a trusted, platform, and something that people go to, that, I mean, it's certainly going to, at some point, probably be subject to, being purchased or being whatever. What can you tell me about that? Has there been any talk about that, or is it the intent to, we want to stay independent, we want to stay for the fans? I mean, is that?
Yeah. I don't know. No one's come, for my knowledge, of the giant bag of money or anything like that. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not the one who makes those decisions, but I do know that I know the owners are, they want to grow, and they want to grow the company. They are committed to doing that. I think adding, me to help out, and to work with them, I think that was a really big, they went out of their way to do that, and I super appreciate it. And I do enjoy helping out as I can. So I think that that was one part of it. And, hopefully they're going to continue to grow and find ways to cement themselves in the industry more. I think that for a long time, we were kind of hiding a bit, not hiding, but they weren't a super public facing company. And I feel like now it's the pressure to be more public facing is there. So like I said, we're doing more social media, or partnerships potentially. There's just other ways I think we can get the brand out there more. So we're going to definitely be pursuing that. And like I said, I think there's pressure to do that, and we want to answer that and just make the best product we can for the fans.
I think one of the things that strikes me the most is that you guys don't charge for your service. Is that something that could change in the future, or is that something that you guys want to stick to just because of this philosophy for the fans?
So I think at the end of the day, right now we have a free option. That's always been that way. So I don't know if that will ever change, but I mean, we do offer the free version of BoxRec for those who log into the system. You can see all the information, and we offer a small subscription called BoxRec Plus that allows you to see a little bit more information and some more prediction analytics and stuff like that for the fans and for fighters and trainers and promoters. They're able to basically network with each other and communicate with each other. And, I think as a matchmaker, trying to get in contact with somebody is often a battle. It's such a fragmented industry where one person in one side of the country may never heard of someone in the other side of the country, but they do the same thing. It's wild. So we definitely offer a lot to the inside the industry. And yeah, for the fans, we're definitely always looking for more features to make it's only 99 cents a month, so it's a small fee, but I think it's certainly worth it. You also get ad-free browsing, which I think is huge. So it's the cleanest way to enjoy the website, especially if you're on mobile. It's definitely worth the 99 cents a month, in my opinion. So, but we're always looking for a way to monetize a little bit. But I think at the end of the day, you're always going to get that free version for sure.
Wow, that's. There's been certainly times that I've thought, I don't know about anyone else, but I would certainly pay for this if I had to.
Yeah. We got subscribers, which is great, but we always want to make more. We always want more and subscribers, and we want to. And that means making the site desirable to want to subscribe to. So we're always looking for ways to do that. Like I said, we got some cool features right now, and it's not too expensive, but. So if you're listening and you want to check it out, just go to log in and then go to subscribe, and you can learn more about BoxRec Plus.
And so one other question I want to ask you, and then we'll be getting ready to wrap this one up, but it's something that I noticed a few years ago, that certain titles aren't recognized anymore. Can you what can you talk about in terms of that decision?
Yeah, I mean, I think it came down to the organization you're alluding to not really recognizing us, and we said, okay, we don't recognize you then, I guess. So that data you can get, it's not, people are like, oh, you took it out of the system. It's not out of the system. It's if you want to see it, you go to BoxRec Plus, pay the 99 cents a month. You can see all the titles in the system, that even the ones that aren't on the free version. So yeah, I mean, that's a situation where if they want to come to the table and mend it, I'm sure that could happen. Maybe, that's not my choice at the end of the day, but I mean, they've had opportunities to, and they've decided not to pursue it. So we just decided, okay, we're just not gonna recognize it. It is what it is. Yeah. But
got it. Okay. But it could change. It could change at some point.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Things in boxing change every week. So I'm not a very, and again, it's not my choice, but I'm personally not a very stubborn person. I'm always open-minded. So it's not a forever. I don't think so. Yeah. It's just that discussion would just need to be had.
And so, yeah, we'll just wrap it up with this. We started up talking about this a little bit, and, I know that you can certainly tell the people on social media that basically live off of BoxRec. I mean, like most of their boxing knowledge is because of you.
Yeah. A lot of the content creation comes from our site. Yeah, obviously, and the traffic data can back that up.
How does that? I mean, how do you feel about that? I mean, I'm sure on one end you're very proud. In a lot of way, you've probably helped to change the look of the sport as we entered this kind of digital age.
Yeah.
On the other end, it's just like, hey, give me some credit here. Give BoxRec some credit, because a lot of you guys, have no idea who Ricky Burns is, as we were talking about today, or have no idea, the whole Terrence Crawford, Canelo Alvarez thing happened the other day. And, all of a sudden Victor Postal, who was a very good fighter, all of a sudden, Crawford's having to defend his resume for whatever reason. But anyway, back to the question. I mean, how does it make you feel when you see all this swirling around your work?
Great question. Mixed emotions. I'm super proud of everything I've done with BoxRec, and I'm very proud of the website, and I'm really, really proud that we maintain the history, and fans can always go there and access the information just super quickly. That's awesome. But I also think sometimes fans just want to go find something and take a screen cap of it and then use it in their arguments. And I do feel like I think BoxRec's a super helpful tool, but sometimes I feel like, at the end of the day, it's a website, it's text, it's numbers, and it lacks context. And sometimes it's like, I wish these fans would go back and watch the fights and actually take in a show from that era and understand what boxing in the 70s is not the same thing as boxing in 2025. It's a different product, man. So I wish sometimes these people would understand and go, a lot of this stuff's on YouTube. It's not that hard to find. Go watch so many great historians on YouTube that do podcasts and videos. That's the video content I like, is the stuff that talks about history. Because BoxRec can give you certain context, but it misses a lot. Trust me, I know, because I look at betting lines sometimes and I go, this looks like somebody just looked it up on BoxRec and said, you know what I mean? And I'm like, I don't know if they've ever actually watched any of these fighters. I always do that as just as for fun. I go down and I go, because I watch a lot of video. I do still have time to watch a lot of stuff. I'm not saying I'm always I used to be. I'm not a Tim Boxeo for sure, but I still catch stuff when I'm this looks like they were relying on the website. So so from that, mixed emotions for sure. I don't like how sometimes people use it for arguments to belittle and trash fighters. I think that's awful. Don't do that. But use it as a tool in addition to watching and revisiting history. Go watch the video. Go relive that stuff, and then use our website as a reference guide. But so I hope that's a good answer.
No, it's a great answer. And just the other day, I used that exact line, which was, 2018 wasn't that long ago. Go check it out on YouTube. You have if there's any question, right, as to whether Terrence Crawford was an elite fighter, presumably you have eyes, right? Go and watch YouTube. You should be able to
go watch him. Go watch him fight Felix Diaz. He was a gold medalist. Crawford took him apart.
It's right there. It's right there.
The quality of the videos are probably pretty good. I hear you, man. And people complain about, boxing now is so bad. I'm think you weren't around in 2015, man. There were some dark ages, dude. 10 years ago, it was not a great time to be a fan. Right. There were some dark times. So I think the sport, there's a lot you can criticize about it, but in terms of, guys are fighting each other and unifying more than ever. There was a time period. So when I first started as a boxing fan, guys barely unified belts. That's why the middleweight tournament was such a big deal. I mean, that was what I think that also hooked me in was the Don King tournament, and because that was oh my god, they're unifying. People are unifying belts. It's crazy. I only thought only heavyweights did that. So,
Well, I remember in the '80s, Marvin Hagler was undisputed champion for 7 years. And, when Leonard beat him, it was so odd to see that middleweight title splintered up into WBC, WBA, IBF.
Yeah. Yeah.
During almost my whole time watching boxing, it was always world middleweight champion, Marvin Hagler, undisputed middleweight champion Marvin Hagler. It was never WBC champion or it just looked weird and felt weird. And for the longest time, he was the only undisputed champion, So that's been going on for a long time, for as long as there's been dueling sanctioning bodies that didn't rate the other champions and all that, that's been going on. And you're right. Now it seems to be happening a little more, which is good.
Yeah. Stuff for sure. I mean, there's more ring champions, I think, in this era than there probably were.
Yeah.
I have to look back, but I bet you more than there were 10 years ago. So
yeah, right. Yeah. Well, Gray, it has been a pleasure. It's a fascinating conversation. Continued luck and continued great work at BoxRec. I mean, if you're a boxing fan, we've used it time and time again. I use it multi times a day. Keep doing the great work, and we'll have you back on when you talk about changing the format or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. That one that we'll cross that bridge. I have a feeling at some point soon. So I'll be looking forward to come back whenever you'd like to have me. And thanks for having me on the show to talk a little boxing. I appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, Gray.
All right, take care.